The system is corrupt, and it's rigged, and it's broken, and we're going to change it.
All this talk about the election being rigged, trying to stir up people who are supporting him at his rallies, that is a direct threat to our democracy.
That's from the trail today. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in some key battleground states. This as we have some new polls out. CNN out with a new poll having Hillary Clinton up 5 points, margin of error 3.5. National poll in the four-way race. This tracks exactly with our SR average, the poll of polls. That includes CNN, Quinnipiac, Fox News, Bloomberg, and Monmouth. And it's an average of the most recent polls that we trust. And it has Clinton up 5 last night. We're back with the panel. We went through the other polls out there, the LA Times, Rasmussen, IBT, and IBD, Investors Business Daily, and why our calculations are on those polls. Your sense of the state of this race and where it is in these final 2 weeks?
Well, if you eliminate the bias or you accumulate it and you get parts of it canceling other parts, you end up with a consensus that we're somewhere around 6%. And you see it reflected in the tone and the demeanor of Trump himself. There's a kind of a wistfulness at times. He asked the crowd at one speech, should I have gotten into this? Yes, of course, etc. It's not the kind of charging ahead that you'd expect. And now he's saying that the polls are rigged. I think there's a general feeling in both camps that she is way ahead, and it would take some giant act, external act, to change things, some kind of revelation of criminality somewhere through the WikiLeaks release or not, which I think is unlikely to come. I mean, look at what we are discussing today. Who ordered the duck is the big question, which you'd expect to hear at the dinner party, but not at the center of a national campaign. I mean, in some sense, it's a farce. And I must say, I was far more offended by the Veritas tape that showed the planning for the violence and to blame it on Trump. I think that's of a higher order of magnitude. What's at stake here is a possible violation of some arcane federal election law. But I think in the end, 6% is probably where it is, and the campaigns are acting accordingly.
Now, Laura, traditionally, races tighten towards the end, and we could see that tightening. You're going to have to, if you're on the Trump campaign, see that movement in the next week to see the path to 270.
Yeah, he has to move the needle. There's been a lot of discussion about the overweighting and some of the samples, which I understand the complaint about that, especially the ABC poll that seemed to overweight way too to the Democrats' advantage. But nevertheless, Trump's behind. And he is always better off when he's talking about America and not going back and talking about, well, I'm going to sue them. It's just a waste of time for him. And I don't know if he knows that now. I think he does. He did the Gettysburg speech for the first 100 days. He's talked about cleaning out the corruption of Washington, which I think most people are really tired of, regardless of their affection for the Clintons or Obamas. People just think they need change in Washington. And I think a lot of these down ballot races, Kelly Ayotte and Heck in Nevada, I think they're pulling away from Trump has actually hurt them in the polls. I think people, they think that's going to help them. I don't think it's helped them at all. I think it's made people trust them less.
Quickly, there are some things in these WikiLeaks. The Bill Clinton being given and funded by Teneo, this company, by $3.5 million a year. Obviously, that's something. And the foundation, there are things that come out day to day that we are looking into. It's just a question, to your point earlier, Tom, whether it breaks through.
Right, and I think, to Charles's point, at this juncture, I think it has to be something, from the emails that were never recovered, that the Russian, prospectively, whatever, I mean, people have their differing perspectives on how WikiLeaks got this. I think it was the Russians, 2009 to 11. Is there evidence of criminality or serious misconduct? Absent that, I think this drip will continue, and I don't think it changed the dimensions of the race. And I think Trump's difficulty is Ohio and Arizona at the moment look like the only two sort of mid-battle states where he's ahead or coming to run.
The media, they have to cover these stories and cover them fairly as they do cover Trump's foibles.